Oops, I think I probably cut that a bit early. It was, hard to tell what goes on here sometimes. Anyway, we're slowly getting there. We're back in Paris now. We're at an airport hotel, and tomorrow we kick on down to Portugal, pick up the car, hopefully pick up our rib, and then drive back to France. So it could be a day ahead of schedule. We'll see. Anyway, I think we've got fast internet here, and so assuming it comes up, I'm going to have a bit of a discussion when we get over the tracker, just about the one design situation and the benefits of that within the Alma Class Globe 580, because it's pretty cool racing what's going on at the moment, and part of that comes from the simple fact that they're all similar boats, and that adds a really strong fun factor. So it's quite worth looking at the issues, because it is a one design class, but there are aspects that you get to create your own boat around that, and I thought it would be a good idea just to explain to people how that works, because if you wander down the dock, you'll see them all. Besides, they're all different color graphics and bits and pieces. There are some slight differences to the boats as well. So it's all kind of interesting to follow that. Anyway, we will get straight onto the tracker. Even though I know some people are going to miss this, you can always go back to the replay and follow it through. So we're currently looking at the tracker as we speak. All I've got to do is get onto it. Here it is. I'm onto it. It should all be working. Have you seen that, Jing? Yeah. Yep. It's not there? Yeah. Yep, it's there. Okay. Cool. So here we go. There's our little fleet. There's some fun stuff going on there, but sadly, Origami's now missed out on the last update again. We're not sure. It's some sort of lag going on with his situation at the moment, and it looks like Little B's the same. So I'll show you the estimated speed over the 4 hours when we get to that. But once again, I will bring you back to question 2. We've still got a few people who don't catch up on this and see what it's about. But question 2 is currently out doing their qualifier so that they can become an official entrant in the MGR. So it's a private voyage at the moment, but I have to track it anyway to see what they're doing, and so we thought we'd put it up on the tracker, as we did with Josh and Sunbear towards the end as well, Josh and Eric. So that's what he's doing. He's just waffling along out here, and he's just about 50 miles short. If he was to sail direct back to Antigua at the moment, he's about 50 miles short, so we'll probably overshoot it and then come back. You've got a couple of 100 miles more to go. So he's probably going to get in. Today's Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday, sometime Friday, probably spend the weekend there and then take off on Monday. Or I'm not sure how long he'll take, but he's going to be chasing the fleet then. He'll be a week or something behind. It doesn't really matter because he'll catch up in Panama. Everyone will be there, so that's all cool. These guys and girls down here are absolutely flying, so they're keeping up the premise of a very fast passage, easily making 100-mile days. That's our passage planning speed for any given leg, about 100 miles a day, except for Panama to Marquesas. That one can open it up to anything, but that's how we work out the usual times for each leg, and then now all kicking on towards 120. And the fast one's doing more than that. So let's have a look. There's a few things going on board, which is kind of fun. People are eating flying fish, which is cool. There's pigeons turning up on the boat. I think it was Dan. I think it was. They had pigeons there. John had a pigeon land on the boat, and domestic pigeons. So I used to catch them and eat them all the time. Or not all the time, but Timmy Fryer and me, Chrissy Fryer and me at a school, we used to go pigeon hunting. Long story. Okay, so at the back end of the fleet, looks like it's Popeye, 4.2 knots, 95 miles in the last 24 hours. So plodding along, you can see the breeze here is really looking pretty cool. I'll get into that as soon as I do the positions. We'll go through for the next 2 days, but they're probably getting this sort of close to a southeasterly breeze at about 15 to 18 knots. Entrant actually did a live today. We just happened to be in the taxi, or in the Uber rather, coming back, and Gene popped up. There he goes live, just showing how fantastic it was out there. it was really quite mild and calm. Looks a bit warm, but just sailing along really nicely. In fact, where's Entrant? I'll see what he's got here. Where's Trekker? There we go. Okay, so Trekker's doing nearly 5 knots, 4.9 knots, and did 90-mile day. Actually, Popeye beat him 95 miles. So Entrant's just cruising along. It was flat, calm, blue sky, having a great time. So anyway, back to Popeye, doing okay. Next down the list is Skookum, doing 4.3 knots, 101-mile day. Not too bad. Peter Punk. Now, I haven't had an update on how she's feeling, but you can see, she normally wouldn't be there. She would normally be up here somewhere. She would absolutely be in here. So that was kind of sad. She's got a food allergy and it's kept her down. So I don't know what the latest is there, but we're obviously not concerned. She's talking to, it's not a big issue at all, but it certainly slowed her up for a day or so. And she's managing 4.7 knots and did 99 miles in the day. Jacob, 4.9 knots, 107-mile day, all pretty cool. Trekker, as we said, 4.9, 90 miles. Number 2, Jasmine, slipping back a bit. She was right up there before. Now 104-mile day and doing 5 knots, which is still good, don't get me wrong, but she just dropped back a bit. Eric starting to get in the groove, 5 knots, 116-mile day. I had big hopes for Eric, and I still do. I think he's now, it literally took me 2 days to work out how to sail a boat first time I got out there. And honestly, he did so much windward work, he didn't know what the hell the boat could do after that. Now he's getting used to settling into the boat from winds after the beam. And I think my prediction for Eric, knowing his background and so on, my prediction is that we can expect him to see his performance and numbers increase as time goes by. This will be his settling in period to Panama, and then let's just wait and see what happens. But interesting story. So then Argo lifted the skirt there, got going, 123-mile day, 5.3 knots, and he's doing okay. He's up there with this. I don't know where you draw the line on the lead group. This is probably the lead group here now. Sunbear's not quite there, but gaining. And Little B is sadly on the wrong timeline there. So his latest position, we can't really compare it, but I'll show you where he should be. He had been doing 124-mile days the previous 24 hours to this position. And that's an old position. It's 4 hours behind everyone else. Argo 123-mile day. And I'll come back to that in a minute. John on 100, doing 5.4 knots, 125-mile day. So their averages have been good for the 24 hours. And then Origami's a bad position as well. He's 12 UTC. So he's 4 hours behind everyone else. So I'll move that forward graphically in a minute. Little Ren, 5.2, 117-mile day. Oh, I didn't give you the 24-hour run before then was 130. So you can see Origami over the last 24 hours still moving quite well. 130. Little Ren, 117. So he's still right up there. Immortal Game dropped back a little bit from the leaders. 123-mile day. 5.5 knots. Enjoying the ride. Capuchinet and Renaud, 5.7 and 133-mile day. So you can see there, Origami, 130-mile day, even though it's 4 hours out of sync, 133-mile day for Renaud. And interestingly, Renaud is gaining now on Captain Coconut. If you've been following the tracker every 4 hours, which I sometimes do if I can get access to it, Captain Coconut got a break on the fleet. I said, oh, that's cool. He's out and running where he should be. But now Renaud is cutting down unless, Coconut's on the current position. Right, so where would they be? Right, you've got to, I'll just position this here and here. You got to assume that Little B was doing 5.5 knots because the previous 4 hours, that's what he was doing. So if you multiply that by 4, 5 4 is a 20, 1, 2. So he's about 22 miles further advanced than where he is. So I'll just take it bow to bow on a similar course, and we come back to 22 miles, around about there, near enough. So that's where you should be looking at Little B, not too far behind, that's okay. And then that's pretty much played over as well. If we look at Origami, 5.2, so that's near enough to 21 miles. if he was maintaining that same speed for the next 4 hours, which is a reasonable assumption. So we'll bring him back to 21 miles. So it puts him around about there-ish. That's about it. About there-ish. Yeah, so he's about there. So still coming second, and Immortal going up there, coming third, and so it goes. We can have a quick look at the leaderboard. You can see there's the positions locked out for Little B and also Origami. I think you already sent a message to YB to have a look. Something going on there. There's a delay, so you might see it pop up in the next hour or two. Anyway, and then the rankings go down the line. Sunbear, number 2, Tracker, BB, Peter Punk, right back there, sadly. And then down the bottom, question 2, not in the game yet, so forget about that. That's about it. So just a quick look at the other interesting thing will be the ETAs. The ETA, if we use from the start, that's a better one for generalization, maybe. Anyway, I'll try both. And we come up here to the leaders. 8 o'clock in the morning on the 4th. That's pretty quick. So potentially 8 o'clock in the morning on the 4th, but there are some light winds coming, so I'm not expecting them to maintain this speed for all the way. But anyway, it's certainly going to be sometime on the 4th. I think that's fair to say. So I'll just show you the weather. I'll make this a little bit smaller. You can see what's happening here. Here's Panama right over there. There's Panama there. You can see here, big light wind band. That's less than 5 knots there. So they would not be sailing very fast at all. And that's likely to happen. It happens, because there's so much temperature there. It's the strength of if we pan out, the strength of the trades get influenced by the everything from the Gulf of Mexico up here. Mexico. I'll be banned from the Oval Office now to report on him, my friend. And you can see it just dies out because you've got all the effect of the land here and so on. So that's not uncommon, but we'll have to wait and see on that. If we then let's see, I've got to get rid of that one so I can get the weather back. I'll make it up a little bit bigger. That's okay. And then I'll start pushing the weather through now. So I'm just rolling it through. So that's the first early morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. Having seen that breeze way over to the west is starting to fill in a bit. 26, getting a bit tougher there. So, and then it softens off on the 27th. Overall, it does anyway, but they've still got great sailing breezes. That's all in the realms of sort of 12 to 18 knots. And the sea will be quite calm. Those yellow patches are pushing it a bit bigger. There goes the 28th, the 29th. You can see overall it's starting to lighten up there, but there's a bit of a consistent puff standing here on the corner, so they're going to get a kick. And that's where the currents are as well, and they'll be over there by about the 2nd, I reckon. And it's showing a bit of a puff there. Oh no, it just dies out. There's the first. Still plenty of breeze there, so that's quite quick. I assume you can see all that. Let's have to have a reminder of where the currents are. Some big streams there. Makes you think you want to hook into that, go and then chop down from there. But temperature-wise, it's getting really hot now. So let's just put that on a colour scale. And I'm going to slide this down at the bottom, just so you've always got these colour scales that refer to the units of measure along the bottom. So if we were to come over here and try and match up their colour, there's 28 degrees there. So there, if you can see that, I can probably, it's a bit hard to build it up. But anyway, yeah, it's in the high 20s there at the moment, and probably even getting up, it'll get up towards 30s and stuff. In the cabin will be really warm. So, okay, I think that's about all I need to tell you for that lot. I'll come back here and say good day. There we go. All right. So before I get there, the news, what's happened? Entrant went live. Gary's got about a couple hundred to go. Dan and Renaud were quite close the other day. Renaud took a photo. You might have seen it on his post. Took a photo, and his comment was a classic. He just said, well, at least you got to enlarge the photo. to see him. Didn't want to suggest he was too close. I think that's about that. Interesting. I shared the post, I think, on Slocum down there, because we talk about John Guswell and everything for solo sailing a mini around the world, which is true, but some of you may not, especially some of our new followers, may not know about Slocum, who was the first guy ever to sail solo around the world in Joshua. And sorry, not in Joshua, in the Spray. I say that because Bernard Matessia, a very strong figure in solo sailing, named his boat Joshua, the big red one, that he became quite famous in the Golden Globe and all that sort of stuff. But it's interesting to look back on the history, and if you've never read that book, Sailing Alone Around the World, it's really quite a cool thing. And it was funny because I forget how all this came up, but quite a few of our sailors, Dan the Holiday Man, and a few others have all said, people said he couldn't do it, so they bugger it, we'll go and do it. And it was funny because I was reminded of that very thing with Slocum, the first guy to go around the world. He was a ship's captain, sailing big square riggers around different places. And in the conversations, he wanted to do some things, and people said, you couldn't do it, and that spurred him on. He mentions that in his book, so that's where it goes. And then the other thing I just wanted to brief on before we go through this is what modifications you can get with the One Design class, as in it's One Design, everything's the same. Like you've got the same sails, you've got the same building construction technique. There's a bit of a modification. If you can't get the thickness plywood, you can go with a slightly lesser thickness, but you've got to put more glass on. So generally we say the hull is exactly the same. The keel is the same, the rudder's the same rudder bearings, things like that. And for anyone that wants to enter an event, one of our ocean events like the Transat or the Mini Globe Race or some others that may come in the future, you have to have the watertight bulkhead which supports the mast. Okay, so the mast is pretty much directly above the watertight bulkhead, because there is another option where you can have a bigger cabin and the forward bulkhead goes a little bit further forward to give you that bigger saloon area, and then you have a less volume and space up there for safety reasons, for subcompartment flooding and so on. So if you want to do any of the races, you've got to make sure you get the bulkhead in the right position. That's all mentioned in the notice of race and so on. People could do a completely different layout. There's one guy put a lifting keel on the boat, but he'll never be in class approval, so he can't race in our events, but he can have good fun with his little boat doing other stuff. The biggest area of modification is actually the companionway, and what you want to do with that. You can actually have the traditional board that comes down with the observation pod, or you can have an astrodome there, a bubble, or you can have just a pure flat sheet of perspex to be an observing window, or you can put a hatch there. But there's some restrictions on how you've got to do your structure. You can't have a huge hole there with no structural support. So that's all mentioned in the builders group, in the builders updates as well. And then the idea of a lot of the boats, which is what I did on Trekker and a lot of others have done since, is use a deck hatch as your companionway. So you can actually close that off and button it up so it's 100% watertight. The 100% watertight issue is really critical. If you haven't got that, you won't get your class association plate. The other things that you can't do, you can have your cockpit locker seats. You can have seat lockers in the cockpit, but you can't have lockers on the cockpit risers. That's the stand-up bit with a seat on the top. Right? You can't put anything in the side there, because if they have a leak, it will flood the compartment and you lose your buoyancy. You can have your hatches inside the boat, so you go to the bottom of the quarter berths and go into that compartment from there. Some people have done both. They've had cockpit seat lockers and have a removable bolt-on panel in the main aft bulkhead as well. So they're the main forms of One Design. And that's why you see a lot of the boats, sailing pretty closely together. And then you have some owners, the skippers will just strip their boat out, have the basics. And that's interesting. There's another reason to bring it up, because, a lot of people might have forgotten from the, if they haven't seen the video tours, that Kerry on Origami has virtually no mattresses. He's only got 10 millimeter yoga mat. in there, and he's taken off everything that he doesn't need. He left his shoes behind. He hasn't got shoes on board. He's got like thongs or sandals or something. Anything he doesn't need, it's off the boat. Save weight. The more weight you get off the boat, the faster you're going to go without any extra effort. Others have got everything they need on the boat. So I'm pretty certain, Origami doesn't have a tender, for instance, but most of the others have got tenders. Origami does not have an electric scooter like Popeye. Popeye's got an electric scooter there. And so there's all these different aspects that are working around the one design class. So it's all part of the fun. But anyway, I had some pictures here to show you the different bits, but you probably know that's Trekker. It's got Astrodome there. That's Entrant Starlink, by the way. That's his Starlink antenna. He just brings it out. He hasn't even mounted. He just plugs it in, brings it out, lays on deck. That's it. And then this was Little Wren. Got the deck hatch. It's a companionway hatch. He's got the observation pod. So again, the deck hatch has got lots of advantages over anything else. And that's like a 50-50 deck hatch. But there is a company in New Zealand that's making custom hatches. And some of the boats, like Sun Bear, has a really big hatch there. Argo's got an Astrodome, and he actually extended his deck out over the cockpit quite a long way. A little way is good, but too far is not so good. And I think Argo, Christian's already mentioned on one occasion I know of where he thinks maybe it wasn't a good idea to extend it so far because it decreases the size of the cockpit. Means you can't sit down with your back up against the bulkhead there, looking aft, and a few other things. But beautiful boat, beautiful build. And you'll remember Biggest Monkey's got nothing, no Astrodome, no observation pod, just a sheet of perspex to save weight. It doesn't even have a deck hatch there because that's adding extra weight. The deck hatch is like on 99 and 100, they've got a deck hatch where a bubble might sort of go. So different options you can do there. Wrong way. What am I doing here? What am I doing there? Get off. Hang on. Is that off? No. Because I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. Go back to this one because I think I had another picture to show here. Then we'll get into questions. That's Trekker. That's Trekker. No, we've done that. Okay. So I'll come back here and I'll see who's there and I'll get off the air and carry on regardless. G'day, Christine. You're in Bacos de Toro. John, g'day, John. Who else is sailing with Coconut? Jill. Jill was, I'll let you make your own interpretation of that. Mark was the skipper on Explorer in the OGR with 9 other crew on board. And now Jill was signed on as one of those 9 other crew. Now, Captain Coconut and Jill, I think it's fair to say they're a bit of a unit and they're having a great time sailing around the world. Mark is going all the way, and Jill's got some commitments back in England. And the way I understand it, that Jill's going to fly in and out at different places at different times. So she's already a circumnavigator in her own right because she went all the way around on Explorer. Quite a good sailor before that. So this is a lot of fun too. Coconut just having fun. He's retired. He's got the boat. It's a cool little boat. It's a Lalo 34, very famous in South Africa. And qualifies under the GTR. So this will be his third circumnavigation in about 4 years, I think it is. So that's cool. What's the story with pirates? Oh, well, Pirates of the Caribbean, about all that stuff. I'm not sure. I'm not totally familiar with the pirate issue in the issues of approaching Panama. You coming along the top of the coast of Brazil there, and there's some exotic things, but I'm not really, probably not set up to comment on that, so I don't know a lot about it. But I wouldn't be too worried because there are a hell of a lot of, there's a lot of traffic there, and all the boats have got good comms, so I don't see it as an unnecessary risk. If I thought it was a risk, I would have done the whole research on it, but I think it's just an issue to treat sensibly and go from there. I've had a couple of occasions when I went on to Pirate Alert. When I had our ship, we had a ship called Sir Hubert Wilkins, 36-metre ship with a helicopter, helipad, 5-man recompression chamber, all the dive gear. It was Jacques Cousteau was my hero, and it was kind of an ambition one day to end up with a ship like that. It was a bit better than Calypso. Anyway, we had a serious pirate alert up in the Philippines when we were up there. It's another story for later. But we had guys with guns, blah, 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 and all sorts of things going on. Anyway, that was in the Philippines. And then I had another one in the BOC when I was sailing up the west coast of Brazil. I was in the boat. It was very funny. It was 50-footer racing in the BOC, and this boat was closing in from behind. And so I got, my little flare gun organised and this, that, and the other. We didn't have satellite phones like that in those days. It was all on radio work. But it turned out to be a false alarm. It was just a precaution. The funniest part was I was wearing no clothes, which I often do when I'm sailing. And in the end, maybe that scared them off. I'm not sure. And the third one was just recently. It was in Trekker, actually. When I was sailing across, was coming down, where were we? I forget exactly which exact part, but it was a fishing boat. It was one of those ones where they're spearing swordfish, I think, or whatever. They have that great big bloody bowsprit that goes out about 20 metres off the boat. But boy, they were just tailing me all over the place, and I couldn't work out what was going on. I got on the sat phone, and I had Jane standing by and a few bits and pieces, and it was just another false alarm. So you just take precautions when you need to. But that's about all I can tell you. So anyway, some good stories for later if we ever catch up about the Philippines. We were treasure hunting up there. That was the key to it. We were treasure hunting, looking for something very important. Anyway, Fabian, hi Don, thanks for the update. So you're going to do the remaining boat tours in Panama? Yeah, we will. But we were flat out there. I didn't have any chance. In fact, there was a lot of things we didn't get done, but we all had good time. And so in Panama, now that we've organised the road trip, I don't know whether I've told everyone this. I've alerted the managers and so on, so I can talk about it now. We finally have a confirmed plan. I agreed to everything today. We've got a chap there that's modifying 2 trailers, and we'll be able to move 2 boats a day. He's a very switched on guy by the look of it, all the comments that we're getting. He's tied up and linked through with, fortunately, with Shelter Bay Marina, and he's now in the process of modifying the trailers. And then we will come out of the boats. The masts will be dropped in Shelter Bay Marina using manual labour from all the crews. They'll all get together. You get 3 skippers, and you can lower the mast, and then they share that job. And that's the way it'll happen for most of them. Entrant's going to do some stuff himself because he wants to work on the boat. And then at a set time, it'll be everyone get ready to go, because we're going to move all the boats in just a bit over a week. And they'll come out of the travel lift, put on the trailer with the mast already on the deck, drive them across the other side. And there was a company there called Flamenco Dry Stack. It's where you've got big racks, in this huge high warehouse, and they pick them up with this monster forklift. Just pick them up, boom, boom, out of the water. They take them up from 20 feet or so, bring them back to the shed, and post them into these racks inside. So we're going to use that forklift. So when the trailer arrives on the other side, this forklift will probably sling them under the big arms, pick them up, drive them over to the edge of it's like a special spot where they park, and then lower the 580s in the water. Then the next challenge is going to be that once they're in the water, it's a time thing. You get charged $25 an hour to stay by the work dock there. When you go in the water, for every hour you're there, it's $25. We've got to hope that we can get some space in the Flamenco Marina, and we don't know yet, because they're just not communicating. And it's common. As I mentioned yesterday, it's common because there's so many cruising boats. They don't want to take bookings. You just turn up and see what happens. If they're full, bad luck. If they're not full, they've got a spot. So anyway, we're nearly there, and we're happy to have that one. And then that'll allow us also the time. We'll cover all that, and we'll do some tours. There's only 4 boats left to go that haven't done it. Trekker is one of them, and there's so much stuff being put up about Trekker. There's a 4-part series there of everything I did. After I did my Transat, I did special explanation videos for all the builders and the people preparing for around the world and the Transats and so on. So they're 4 worth watching. Origami, Pete, the builder of Pete, did about a 1 hour, I think it is, 1 hour documentary about his experience going across. That's worth watching. I did a couple of other videos with people about Trekker. Sun Bear, Eric's boat, the previous owner, Mike Meyer, he did a walkthrough on that. I just saw it the other day. I had like 14,000 views or something on that. So you can see Sun Bear. He hasn't changed anything. It's the same. It's a beautiful boat. So Sun Bear's been done, Trekker's been done, but we need to do Skookum and we need to do Gary. But Gary will be a while behind us. But yeah, we'll catch up on those boats when we're there. And then we'll be, the objective then is to interview everyone again, just to get a summary of their experience in the Transat and also their impressions of what is happening to them right now. So there will be, that's one of the biggest roles, because now we've sort of contracted the movement of the boats to this other guy with the boat movie company. And Shelter Bay Marina, the owners do their own thing, like at the entrance, they do their own thing, get the boats out. We're not involved with that anymore. And on the other side, we'll try and encourage some action with Flamenco Bay Marina to find out the space. The interesting thing, I think some of you already know, Jane and I were just discussing this while we're in the plane. We're going to have a Le Mans start for the second leg of the race. So there's no start line on the water. The deal will be that we'll all be in the car park at the Flamenco Marina, and they'll have a drink there, and they'll all, when we say go when the race starts, it'll be like grab your drink, give John Guswell, here's to John Guswell, because we're now entering the Pacific. So we do a toast to John Guswell, they drink their drink, and that's it. The race is on, bang, from that minute. And then they've got to get down to their boat and get underway and head towards Marquesas. And so the discussion we were having is, what if we can't get all the boats into Flamenco Bay Marina? And so, well, they're going to be somewhere. If they can't get there, there's another club around the corner. They can try that. There's another club down the river a bit, quite a way down, I think Bilbao or something. They can try that. There's no marina there. You're anchoring out. Well, they could go wherever they want. But wherever they are in Panama on the Pacific side, even if it's an hour's drive away by car, they'll all have to come back to Flamenco Marina and start. So then they make the toast to John Guswell, jump in their car, drive for an hour wherever their boat is, and then take off. Because this is, to a degree, this is mimicking the issues associated with an independent voyager going around the world. So we're not coordinating in Panama to have everyone grouped with flags flying and all that sort of stuff, as you've seen so far, as we had at the National Sailing Academy. That was a lot of fun. We were based there, right? But now it's pretty much, we're all trailblazing. It's an adventure, and they're all independent voyages. So Panama's a working stop, really. It's a short leg to Panama, and then it's up to all the guys and girls to get their boats on the other side. We're assisting with a few things, but we don't do sort of every leg, big fancy dinners and parties and all this sort of stuff. It's not there. We don't have the budget. Remember that, and also it's not needed. This is a race around the world now. So we started in Antigua, and we're off around the world. When we get to Fiji, it's completely different because that's midway, and we've got a lot of support there and things like that. That'll be a lot of fun. And I think we're going to get to Fiji early if this keeps up. So it'll be the longest stay because we don't want to get too early into Cape Town and so on. So lots of things going on. Okay. Emergency question 2 and Skookum. Yeah, no, they'll come up, so don't worry about that. But you can see question 2 and Skookum. Yeah, there's a little bit up there now, but yeah, stand by. We'll do that. John, do you know Coconut? I know Coconut really well, but yeah, there's a lot of material about him as well on the Golden Globe Race YouTube channel. If you get onto that, you'll see quite a bit of stuff for Coconut. Yeah. Okay. Light is good in many ways. Yeah, absolutely. Says Pat with a bloody 12-ton boat or something, but it's a good boat. Pat is a GGR 2022 entrant, had to retire in Cape Town with a dud Aries bearing, sadly, doing the 2026 GGR, if you don't know. So you might want to like his social media page and follow him. He's a great sailor, and he's got a very powerful boat. I had a discussion with someone just yesterday about what's the ideal boat for the GGR. And there is no such thing as an ideal boat for the GGR, but there's some good ones. Because to win the GGR, first of all, it starts with headspace, then it starts with boat preparation, and then it comes down to boat design. When you talk about headspace as the sailor, that's the big picture, because the sailor's got to be a good sailor and make decisions on good sail. The boat is also designed in good sails, racing sails, and all that sort of stuff. So it's a complex mix, but quite interesting. And the Saga 36, in my opinion, is one of the top two boats, I think. Anyway, this is a discussion go forever, but Saga 36, one of my favourite boats, and Cape George 36 is the other one. So, okay, Mike, I think she is a boat from Bluff Yacht Club, Durban. They used to say, oh, it could be. Yes, she's obviously from Durban. She went around the world before. If Mark's got a social media section as well. You want to follow Captain Coconut, you'll get on his Facebook page, and he's happy to answer questions about all that as well. Since you just mentioned, can you put lockers in the backrest, or maybe open up the backrest in front of the S-phone? You can. You've got to be careful, because we don't want to penetrate the cockpit at all with any risk. But if you build the shelf out across, make it where it's sort of like a little combing, you can section that off. So you get approval for that. You got to show us, do a sketch, right, and tell us what you want to do, and we'll approve it if it's not going to upset the integrity of the boat, either strength-wise or so on. So yes, you could put. A few have done like wind channel pockets in the back of the combing and things like that. So not too bad, but you've got to be very careful about, because a flat sheet of plywood with frames there and frames there, as soon as you start doing too much behind it, you could alter things around. So we're just a bit cautious on that, but you can do a few things. What's the cost of transporting the 580? $750 US. $750 US to get it across. Maybe Captain Coconut can anchor and be a support boat, so they can raft up and raise the mast, etc. Oh, you can do the whole masting while you're on your boat, but Captain Coconut's he's got an agent to get through Panama. It's costing about $4,000 to do the whole thing, just go through Panama. I spoke about that yesterday, I think, and so he'll be in the same situation. I'm not sure where he's going to go when he gets on the other side, but we've targeted Flamenco Marina. That's where we'd really like to be, but it'll depend on how they're looking with their bookings and so on. Is scoring based on overall time or position per leg? No, overall time. So it's time on the water all the way around the world, and that's it. And I'll explain later again, just to clarify how the stopovers work. But for the leg 2, for instance, they get 23 days of stopovers, I think it is. And if they don't use all those stopover days, that's fine, because they've got it in the bank. They only use, say, 15. That means they've got 8 spare days when they arrive in Fiji. So we still put the 8 days on to their finishing time, but they get 8 days of holiday in Fiji instead of, say, maybe spending all that time in Papeete, because that allows them to target their own family and friends who'll be coming to Fiji. Fiji's a big stopover point. A lot of the family and friends are going in there. So what's the basic cost of 580? It depends on what you're after. You can build a my rule of thumb now is, how much does it cost to build a 580 to go sailing? About $35,000. Okay, so by the time you buy all your materials, do all your bits and pieces, and do all the work yourself, with rigs, sails, everything you need to go sailing, bang, you're away, and about 35 grand. And if you wanted to do the Transat or the Mini Globe Race, you're going to push into that with another 15,000 or more, right? So you're going to be up to about 50 to, around, depends. You can get a really fancy trailer, adds on, and so on. So that's a ballpark figure. But the other thing I say to people, if you really, really want to do it, just get started. You'll find the money. And it's not cheap, but by comparison to 20 million for a Mocha for 4 years, it's cheap. Anyway, okay. All right, that's it. So we're there. Once again, we're still keeping this at random. It's the only way it works for us at the moment. We've got a few hectic days over the next 5 days, and I just try to do it when I can. I think the next one will be we fly in the morning, so maybe late tomorrow, maybe 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or something, European time, 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow, I think we're right. you fly and go and pick up the car and then see what's going on with the rib. So we'll see you all. Yeah, they're euros. Yeah, you're right, Mike. So John, sorry. And remember to like and follow the MGR Facebook page. Okay, that's it. I'm going to try and press this button and see if it all works again. Now we want to go that one. See you later.
Witness history in the making. The McIntyre Mini Globe Race 2025. Small boat, huge adventure.